And the question is, how can we wake ourselves up?
If we don't ask those questions, we just kind of do it because we think we should.
One of the things that really kicks me into high gear is cold plunges. What are you after in life? And why does energy get you closer to that point?
When we take care of ourselves, we can show up in the way that we want to show up. What is an intentional life? Like, why do I want to be intentional? And I think it has to do with
hot yoga followed by some sushi.
Oh
my goodness. It's like living my best life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Finding Simple Abundance with Adam and Maggie. I am Adam.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we are talking about seeking vitality. This is the first pillar of our framework, that our philosophical worldview, if you will, of how we want to live a good life. The practices, the ideas, the mentality that we want to bring to our life to bring a sense of energy and dynamism and an idea of thriving. So today we're talking about the first pillar, seek vitality. Before we dive into that, Maggie, can you give us a rundown? What are the other pillars of our framework?
Yeah. So the other pillars of our framework are, so S, seek vitality, I, inner awareness, M, meaningful relationships, P, pursue creativity, L, live dynamically, and then E is embrace thriving.
Yes. So again, it spells the word simple. That's the beauty of it. So we can always, part of it was we just needed a way to remember it.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to kind of fit it into a word.
Yeah.
So yeah, the simple framework is what we call it. If you want kind of a deeper dive on that, or at least kind of an overview of what all of the pillars are, our last episode, we went into that, where we went through like the whole framework and kind of talked briefly about each of those. Then we're going to be doing essentially just a deep dive on each of those pillars, the practices that we use to engage with that, and ways in which we find this pillar to be helpful in allowing us to live a more meaningful life, a more fulfilling life, and a life with more intention.
Yeah.
And so today, like you said, we're talking about seeking vitality. And my question to Maggie is, what in the world is vitality?
Yeah.
And why are we seeking it?
Yeah, because like you said, each one of these pillars is something we want to focus on. We want to have intention behind each one of these things, and we want to prioritize. So seeking vitality is something we want to prioritize in our lives. And it goes beyond just physical health, mental, it goes beyond this idea of just like, oh, I want to, take care of my body. It's more like I want to support myself both in all the ways, support myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that I can show up to my life with a sense of energy and dynamism and and vitality.
Well, I think of it as like, leaning back, versus like at the front of your chair, ready to kind of like seize the day and just have this sense of energy and like you said, dynamism. I think I really like that idea. So what are some general ways in which you've been able to cultivate a sense of energy or practices of energy? And I think we could probably go into them in depth, but maybe just a quick rundown of some, a few that stand out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things that have helped you.
Yeah. So the things in my life that make me really feel like I'm alive, that I have a sense of energy to carry with me throughout the day. First is yoga. And it's something that I started doing in college, and I had never taken a yoga class. And then when I did, the way that the approach to a physical practice or a physical activity, just in general, there was just so much compassion and grace behind it and gentleness that I had never experienced before. And so ever since then, it has stuck with me, and I've carried it through to this day, but it's kind of grown and changed and evolved.
And what are some other ones that are?
And then the latest one is dance. So I've been really into some dance videos, getting me pumped up.
You took a dance class at one point.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
You would always come home and just be like, this was so fun.
It was so fun.
It was a ballet class.
Yeah, that was cool.
I never
really cool.
imagined you would take ballet, but
Me
here
too.
we are.
Me too. But the dance videos are just, they're just something that's really fun. And I like that sense of music and with it, and gets your brain thinking.
Very playful.
Yeah. And playful. Yeah. And then afterwards, the sense of mental clarity that you get from doing something physical. And so, yeah, honestly, like I've not only dance, but just other physical exercises, you know, like HIIT workouts or things like that to just make you feel
walks. Get out and walk.
I know. To just, make you feel good. Because that's, I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What are yours?
So for me, I have a couple of different practices that I do either daily or kind of as needed. One of the ones that I try and do daily is some form of exercise, because I've found that when I am tired, when I'm feeling lethargic, it is counterintuitive to think that, oh, you probably should rest. But really what I need is to get up and move, go on a walk. That helps, but really getting a little bit more aggressive with my exercise helps a lot. So
carrying around big rocks,
going on a ruck, you know, put a big backpack full of weight on, something a little more challenging, you know, go lift some weights, go for a run with our dog Moji, something like that to really give, to really get like the heart pumping and those kind of things. So that brings a lot of energy and vitality. I always come back with a clearer mindset and more of that forward leaning, just kind of like, let's just do this.
Yeah.
For me though, I've always struggled with getting into funks.
Yeah.
Like I go through my energy levels, if you wanted to chart it, which I have, is basically we'll do like these general cycles, you know, kind of, it ends up forming a bit of a sine wave. So for all of you science geeks out there, where I have like days where I'm like at peak and I'm just like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's not an immediate, you know, decline to feeling, you know, kind of blue, but it's, you know, a slow descent. And then, you know, I'll ride that right back up. And so part of it is just accepting that that's who I am and that I don't always live at that upper level, but recognizing that I have those full, you know, swings in energy. And so what I've tried to do is cultivate some practices that no matter how blue I'm feeling, how down I'm feeling, if I nail these things, then I'll at least continue on and I don't go all the way down in the trough of negativity. And so some of those things for me, and they again are a bit of bolstering me so that I have at least some energy. But then when I am fully dynamic, it helps extend that really peak a little bit longer for me. And so those would be things like meditation and journaling. But one of the things that really kicks me into high gear is cold plunges.
Yeah.
It's like getting in cold water. Yeah. And what I found to be even more effective than that is to start off in the sauna, because that's kind of a place for me to meditate. So, you know, a good 20 minutes in the sauna, and then you get into a cold plunge and the world just starts to like blur and spin, and and your body's like throbbing. It's so cool.
So
I love it. And that, if I'm down, it will help me, you know, right that corner. And if I'm up, I'm like, I get out of there. I'm just like, let's go. Let's shape the world. So those are a couple of mine. I'm sure we'll probably come up with other ones as we're having this conversation. You know, we definitely have pulled out a few key pillars that we wanted to talk about today. But one of the beauties, I think, of the conversations that we always have is that this really is a conversation. So
I know.
Halfway through, we'd be like, oh yeah, remember that idea of this? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But you've introduced the idea of yoga. And one of the things that I really am curious about is, what does yoga mean to you beyond kind of what I guess the people tend to think of yoga as, like, you know, the spiritual practice or the, you know, mental side of things. But I don't know, like, tell me more about this yoga practice.
Yeah.
How do you use it?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is funny. So as you were talking to vitality, I was thinking just about how, you know, a lot of times physical health and doing exercise and things, I think we've kind of grown up with this idea that it's really so that we can look a certain way, you know? I mean, there's just that piece that's there. And I think it's good to just acknowledge that, you know, sometimes when we think about like healthy eating and exercise, we tend to kind of fall into this place of, because I want to look good, you know? And I think that's why I love the other piece of vitality, because in the same way that we want to look good, we also really do want to feel good and to really feel alive. And I think that's honestly what we're really seeking when we're wanting to do all of these things like physical activities and just the things that help support us and our so that we feel like we are in control of our life. Like we are living in the way that we're meant to live. And we're I don't know. I just kind of wanted to bring that up in a way. Just because separating those two, I think, has really helped me in the practices that I do and the things that I
like looking good versus feeling good, or maybe
maybe like just that there's another element to that, that it's not just all about like looking good.
You do look great, by the way.
Well, thank you. So do you. Yeah. And I think that is another thing why I have loved yoga so much, because it's helped me not think through all of these things, but feel through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so giving me a space to really feel, what do I need? Am I tired, or do I need to go on a run? Like, do I need rest, or do I need more physical activity? You know, and sometimes the answer is different when we think it versus feel it, you know, and like how we can really actually support ourselves. So yeah.
I know for me, I've always leaned into the physical side of things. Like I like the strength yogas and
hot yoga.
Hot yoga is incredible.
Love that stuff.
It's so good. Hot yoga followed by some sushi. Oh my goodness. It's like living my best life. The other thing I found with yoga is like the stretching itself. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but when I stretch, like memories pop up. Like I just feel like I go through all of these old memories. And like I'm almost like stretching and like releasing all of this stuff from inside of my brain.
That's
but
so cool.
It's weird, you know? I'll just be like,
oh
yeah, remember that time? You know, and I only get to that place when I'm upside down or something.
I know, but it's so true, because and it's so funny because it's like, it sounds like woo-woo-y, but like it's also like backed by science and you know, research that we really do have memories stored in our body, or we really do have emotion stored in our physical body. And so it's kind of wonderful, because then it doesn't mean that we have to go through this whole like cognitive deep dive with a therapist. It's like it's like we can really honestly just tap into our physical body and allow release to happen, where we really can let go of emotion that we've stored in our bodies for even years, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yoga's a big part of how you kind of get a sense of energy.
Yeah.
And it was funny, like you started yoga. I mean, like you said, you had started it in college, but I remember at a certain point we were married and we had Arlo, our son, and you were getting back in tune with your body after pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I remember you went on this kick where it was yoga every single day on a consistent basis for like a year and a half or something like that. And I just remember being, first off, props for the consistency. It was incredible. But I really saw you start to like engage with your body in a different way.
Yeah.
And to get to know yourself. And then, like I said, through that, I mean, you were just a more dynamic individual.
Yeah.
Because you had this sense of energy and dynamism about you.
Yeah. And I think I love the analogy of yoga being your body being like a straw, and yoga being the way that you bend the straw. So like throughout the day or throughout life, you know, we get sand and little bits of things in our straw. And just by the nature of living life, you know, stressors come up, things clog, whatever. And so yoga is really that practice of like bending the straw and clearing things out and getting all the sand and junk out so that you feel good and clear and things can easily move through you and you can let emotion come in and out and it doesn't get stuck. You're just able to feel it and let it go. And
yeah. Well, and one of the things that we've talked about a lot has always been this idea of when you feel good, it makes you want to do other things well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, when I'm feeling really good and energetic, I will eat better.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've done all this work and feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier to make better choices in the food that we're doing, which then fuels us in a different way that allows us to have more energy.
Yeah.
And so then I'm also tired at the end of the day in a very circadian rhythm type of way where it's like bedtime.
Yeah.
I'm actually tired. I'm like ready for sleep, and then the sleep is really good. You wake up early and refreshed. So you're more likely to eat healthy and exercise. It's this whole like recursive, beneficial loop that you can get into.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, it's easier for me to make the decision to go exercise than it is to make the decision to go to bed on time or to eat a healthy meal.
Yeah.
And so if I can start from that place, that kind of allows me to like build into this, get the momentum going. If you will.
Right. And I think it's so much just about really taking care of ourselves. It's just as simple as that. It's when we take care of ourselves, we can show up in the way that we want to show up. And then we can take care of other people better because we're taking care of ourselves. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about dance. Tell me, and we talked a little bit about this in the last episode, but how did dance become a part of your life? Yeah. And what do you love about it?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the other piece of vitality is that we learned through a Tony Robbins event that energy is a habit. And I don't know. I love that. I love that phrase because I think about it a lot in the term of vitality and how it is something that you practice. And so in taking care of yourself and taking care of ourselves, it's a habit that we have to create to show up with the energy that we want to show up with. And so that's what's so fun about dance is because it really does get you like pumped and happy and excited and makes you feel silly but also works your brain.
Following along with the moves.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I like. Like it's different from like going on a run and taking a jog. Like there's something where you just kind of like let your mind can kind of like get into
that
just
repetitive
that rhythm.
beating of your feet.
Yeah. And that's a cool experience. And then like with yoga and like, you're thinking through the poses and you're
slower paced.
Yeah. And dance is just like a faster way of doing that. And so it really like works your brain in a different way. And, you're trying to do the right, left, whatever. And so there's something about how it works your brain that just, and that mind body connection.
Do you think it's possible to dance and frown? I just had this idea of like
possible, but you'd look really weird.
Yeah, right. I just had this thought of like, as soon as you start dancing, like you can't help but just smile because you're like, this is goofy, this is funny, and I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have not done a dance video with you other than for the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within. I full on like I played full or played hard whatever he says,
full
like
out.
Full out. That's right.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's really fun to watch you and Arlo do that. There's a sense of play.
Arlo does them with me sometimes, which is so fun.
One of the other areas that I actually had experienced this sense of bringing energy into my life was playing with our son Arlo, because there is this sense of play that he pulls out of me. And if I can like really immerse myself and like engage with this concept, this idea of just like really playing with him, then it helps me feel younger. Yeah. Which I'm not old, but it makes me feel less crotchety and just like, and just brings me into a different form of energy. And so if I can always try and carve out some time throughout the day to be goofy with him, that's something that I find really helps me show up with energy throughout the rest of my day. Yeah. I have one question for you. Oh, unless you have something.
Oh, I was going to ask about your sauna ice bath.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But
no, that's great. Well, I was going to ask you, maybe it's like one of those questions, like why why do we want to have like a sense of energy in the broader context? And then maybe we can circle back and talk about like the sauna and ice bath, and I can tell you about how trippy it is.
Yeah. I know, I love it.
But like, why do you want to have a sense of energy? Like, what is it that you're, and I would say going bigger picture, like, tell me more about the worldview. Like, what are you after in life? And why does energy get you closer to that point?
Yeah. I think it is so much to do with, what is an intentional life? Like, why do I want to be intentional? And I think it has to do with, well, how do I want to show up? And so for each one of these pillars, I think it's something that we could probably ask that question. Like, how do you want to show up to a meaningful relationship? Like, how do you want to show up with like having inner awareness? Like, how does it help you show up, I guess, maybe? And that's kind of the same thing with Seeking Vitality. It helps you show up with energy, with your best self, with a sense of aliveness. And then even to like pursuing creativity, there's something like, how do you want to show up to that? Like, how does it help you see life differently? And then, living dynamically and embracing thriving. These are the ways that we want to show up to our lives.
It makes me think of the idea of like sleepwalking through life.
Yeah.
Like where it can be really easy to just kind of go through the motions. And the question is, how can we wake ourselves up? How can we, take that big yawn? Take that big deep breath, feel that sense of clarity, and just show up in a way that is more alive and present. Because it's so easy to just go through the motions. I mean, I've done it. I've done it for years. And even in the midst of sleepwalking, you still have these moments of revelation. But the question is, can we live more in that peak state of alive? Of presence and awareness. And just quality.
I know.
I just want to live a cool life.
I know.
I want to do fun things.
I know.
And even doing fun things doesn't have to like be travel. It could just be literally being really engaged and present with Arlo. It can be really engaged and present and go to like a coffee shop and just like find some random person and be like, hey, who are you? Tell me about yourself, or even reading a book or journaling. Just there's something there, like a more colorful world, less black and white.
And I think that it had like, doing the things that help us take care of ourselves. It's kind of exactly that. It's so that I can live a colorful life, so that I can honor the body that I've been given, the mind that I have, the just this whole vehicle that I have to experience my life with. I want to honor it. I want to take care of it. I don't want to just like, have it be this like backseat sort of thing of my life. I want to be aware of it. I want to have a relationship with it and to fuel myself with the best things so that I can, do this for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the ideas behind what we're doing here at Finding Simple Abundance is we want to find a way to color our world. We want to find a way to live a more, forward posed, a more engaging, a more dynamic life. And I think there are other people out there that want that same thing. And from what we've heard as we are getting feedback from what it is that we're putting ourselves out there with is like there are other people that are like, this resonates with me so much. And sometimes those little reminders, it can be so powerful. Oh yeah. We've got our little baby girl waking up.
She's good. But I think it's good. Like, I think that, and that's why I love that you always ask why. Like, why? Like, why do we want this? Why do we want that?
Why do we want to ask why, Maggie?
Right. But it's like, because if we don't ask like, well, why do I want to show up with a sense of vitality? Because otherwise, if we don't ask those questions, we just kind of do it because we think we should. Like we just kind of, oh, I should form the habit of going to bed earlier. I should do this. I should exercise. I should probably eat better. I should blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but why? Like, why do you want to do that? You know? And I think if we have that answer individually for ourselves, whatever it may be, whether it may seem superficial or not, it's like, it doesn't matter. If you know why you want it, that's really important.
That's a driving force. That's what allows you to like tap in on a regular basis.
Right.
Okay. So if you've been waiting around for the ice bath and sauna, I want to, I guess, tell you about that because we've actually developed a resource. Because ice baths I got really tired of doing the traditional ice bath where you literally go buy ice and put it in your bath.
Adam did that for a while.
It's so wasteful. It just felt ridiculous and took so much time and energy, but I felt so good after an ice bath. So I want to give everyone an opportunity for their own selves to have this experience because we don't all live next to a Nordic stream or a Nordic fjord, if you will, to go dive in to some ice glacier
or have an ice
water
machine a block away.
That's right. So what I've done is I've created a page, Notion page that I can send you, just comment on this video, say, let me send it to me. I'll DM it to you or send us an email. Or you can go to adamandmaggie.com, sign up for the newsletter, get it to us that way. But basically it's a resource for how to build your own ice bath out of a cold, or out of a chest freezer. Right. And so it's a really simple process. It takes maybe 3 hours probably to put it all together. And I think the total cost came out to about like $300 to $400. And most of that obviously is the freezer. So if you can find one used or just toss all the food you have in yours and like priorities. Come on.
Priorities.
And so, you can build your own little ice bath. And so for me, that's so much fun to be able to get into it. Arlo will come up and like poke me while I'm inside there. And then like we'll stick his hand in, see how long he can keep it in. And so it's cool that he's growing up around
he loves
this
it.
Ice bath, this idea of an ice bath.
It's so funny.
And then the sauna I have it's like $150 on Amazon. And it's basically what looks like just a rice cooker. And it just pumps steam into this little pup tent. So you look like a loon. Yeah. But it works.
It's so good. Amazing. Best $150 we've ever spent.
Easily.
Like on anything.
And I remember I got it because I got so tired of the wintertime having this like sense of like tense, you're tight in the winter just because it's cold all the time.
Right.
And you never really get that sense to relax.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to have this sauna. I want to have some steam because I always have respiratory stuff happening. So then I discovered sauna for 20 minutes and then cold plunge for 3 minutes to 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah. And then if you've got an afternoon, jump right back in the sauna, in the cold plunge, and then the sauna, the cold plunge. Wowzer. It'll set you up really well.
That's cool.
So I'm a big fan of cold plunge.
Yeah.
I learned that I think originally from Tim Ferriss, I believe, is kind of where I first kind of heard the idea of like cold plunge or cold therapy. And then, Tony Robbins does it as well. And now it's become, fairly common and popular. But yeah, if you never tried it,
like Wim Hof
definitely
made it all.
Wim Hof made it. Yeah. So
really
if you can
popular.
incorporate some breath technique with it as well, it really does just wake you up.
Yeah.
Wake you up. Yeah. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've really enjoyed. And because I'm a weenie, I don't do the cold plunge first because it's too cold. I'll do it sometimes. But if you start in the sauna, then the cold plunge just feels like a natural and then you can get into the cold. Yeah. And just a big fan of that.
That's so cool. That's so cool. That kind of reminded me of, both of us have experimented too with breath work. And that, honestly, I really do feel like that has to do with vitality and like this life force in our bodies is being connected to the breath. And that's something that you really do in the sauna. You know, you're really focused on your breath, and then cold plunging as well.
Yeah.
It makes you really tune into that like vital life force within yourself. So that's why like when you get done, you're just like euphoric.
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm so in tune with the aliveness in my body.
I remember when I was first getting into Wim Hof. So if you aren't familiar with Wim Hof, they call him the Iceman. And he has this certain breathing technique that you kind of do before you get into the ice bath. And it helps you like first off, survive, but it's an incredible way of like waking up and just kind of starting your day. And it has to do with taking anywhere from like 20 to 25 deep breaths. And then you do an exhale and then hold your breath for like a minute. And you do this, repeatedly. And so by the end of it, you're just like, whoa. And I feel like you open your eyes and again, the world is more colorful. It's just, I don't know, other way.
Vibrant.
Yeah. But you have to be really careful. You don't do this in the ice bath because it can be very dangerous. I remember one time I was doing this breath work.
Oh, geez.
And I passed out. So like I just like
wait, was I
stumbled.
there?
Yeah, you saw it through the window and you came running out. You're like, Adam, are you all right? And like, it was a quick blackout. Like you just like are up.
Freaked me out.
I live with a sense of intensity. People say that all the time. If I'm into something, I'm like really into it. And so I'm always looking for ways to kind of push the envelope.
Yeah.
That's why I, loving spicy foods and, just like anything I can do to get that adrenaline rush
that you can think of.
So I was like, yeah, this is great. State changes are just so fascinating to me, to change your state in some way.
Yeah.
And I just, So if you do any breath work, don't do it in the water. It can be dangerous, but it's a great way to, just really have like a really fun experience.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a psychedelic experience because like you can get this sense of euphoria and like giddiness. And it actually reminds me of even, so when I was living alone as a bachelor, I had my really simple house. Like I basically had nothing, like a chair, and that was it.
Yeah,
like a little pad. And so I had this mirror though. I remember, and I would sit in front of the mirror and I would just hyperventilate. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like, this is really fun. It's really fun.
It's really fun.
And you would hyperventilate in front of the mirror and like, just like you would like lock in and just have this really interesting interaction with yourself. And like this state change in your mind. And then like your hands would kind of cramp up and everything. This is probably not something we should put on the podcast. But it was just like my first experiment in what like a transcendent experience might look like. And feel like.
Yeah.
And so since then, I definitely have had the opportunity to experience other forms of state change. But with the goal of just how can I show up then to like the world that we're in a more dynamic and inspired way? Because I think that we live in this just incredible day and age in particular, but just world. And I want to experience as much of that as I can.
Yeah.
And so we've done that through travel. We do that now through this content creation and podcasting because we get a chance to dive into the things that we want to talk about and to share this with other people and then to hear their feedback back to us. And it just allows us to engage with the world and to reflect on the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because I think our newsletter in particular, it's a weekly opportunity to say, what are we doing that's successful? What are we struggling with?
Yeah.
How can we improve those or double down on them in a way that without that constant pillar, I think we would just, again, sleepwalk through life.
Well, and it helps call us to our highest selves. Yeah. I think we're going to have to take a quick break for the little one.
Well, I think actually, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to.
Maybe we should end it for the little one.
We could just wrap it up a little bit.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So Eva is calling us. And so we're going to wrap this one up. But I did want to say that thank you to all of you who have, come with us on this journey of finding simple abundance. And if you are at all interested, we're kind of toying around with this, but if you're at all interested in making content like this or having a dynamic experience, we are in the midst of starting up this idea called the Couple Creator, where Maggie and I as a couple are trying to, like I said, just use content, use creation, use the power of the internet to live a more engaging life. And so if you're interested at all in something like that, hit us up in the DMs or send us an email. Let us know what you're interested in, because right now we're just kind of sharing the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
But we found so much value in it so far, and we're only a couple months into this.
Yeah.
And so so if you're at all interested in something like that,
we'd love to connect with you.
We'd love to connect. We'd love to help you out. Going from 0 to 1 is the hardest. And so we want to assist you with that as best we can, just from the lessons that we have learned.
Yeah.
So Maggie,
absolutely,
thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Me too, babe.
I appreciate it. And thanks for all your work setting up our new studio. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Add some more dynamism.
Yeah.
And Eva really needs us.
He was ready.
We should go.
We should go.
Thanks so much.
Bye.